Welcome to Rogue Bogues. This is episode 47 in a trying time basketball-wise around the world. Thanks for joining us at Rogue Bogues. Remember to follow us at Hoop Consultants. Welcome, Mike. How's it going?
Bogues, what are you up to, brother?
Not much, man. Just floating about, reading, studying, seeing everything going on right now. The NBA's, which we'll get to shortly, is an interesting time right now. But other than that, all good.
Yeah, interesting to say the least, for sure. I'm sure we got a lot to talk to on it.
Yeah, let's roll. Let's start with our team of the week. I'm not sure what you got this week, but I'm going my team of the week, Memphis Grizzlies. 9-1 in their last 10, 5 straight with no Ja Morant. Really, really impressive. They've really come together well. Really well-balanced team. Brooks, Jackson Jr., Bain play real well together. I'm not sure how you see them, but they're building something nice in Memphis. You bring Ja Morant back into that fold. They don't have to rush him back because they're playing so well, but I was shocked. I thought they would they'd be, tracking 500, maybe around there, maybe 400 without him, just getting by, just enough to get him back and then have a boost. But shit, I definitely didn't expect 9-1. They're playing a really good brand of basketball, and they've beaten some good teams along the way.
No, I mean, Memphis has been fantastic. I mean, without Ja Morant is ridiculous. Just like you said, I mean, no one expected it. Everyone expected him to come back to earth without him. And everybody's just next man up. They just stepped up and they've been crushing it. I'm going to go with Cleveland again. Shit. 5 in a row, 8 out of the last 10. Killing people. Now, their schedule this week wasn't great, but I mean, they're rolling. I had them at the bottom of the East in the beginning of the year. They're doing JV Bickerstaff and those guys are doing an unbelievable job. Jared Allen fucking saving my fucking fantasy team. I love he's been playing great. Kevin Love's the resurrection of Kevin Love, the rising of the Titanic. I mean, it's unbelievable, guys.
He's been good off the bench, yeah.
He's been very good off the bench. So good, good things there. I mean, they haven't had much to cheer about in a while. So happy for those guys.
Yeah, they were actually almost put them in, and then I saw Memphis. We haven't given them some love, so I thought I had them. So yeah, they're definitely two teams that I guess in the preseason no one was really talking about too. So that's always fun to watch. Team of the week for me, WEAK. Look, I know it's a rebuild pro, but Detroit. I mean, they're 14 straight losses obviously makes them 0-10 in their last 10. Whenever you lose double digits in a row, I don't care who you are and how bad you're predicted to be, it's not good. And I know their tank is in full effect, but these kind of tank years for some teams that lead into losses like this, they can actually hinder your development more than help it at times because they're not going to value winning at all this season. And, the unfortunately incentive in pro sports in most leagues that have a draft is that the shitter you are, the better the pick you get, which isn't great. But it's a dangerous line when you get this bad and it's just like, all right, guys, let's just go try to win one. It just sets a bad kind of mentality in young guys on that roster. And they've got a lot of young talent they're developing. Cunningham looks like a player. You just want to make sure you're not kind of normalizing winning, if that makes sense, pro. But they're definitely my team of the week, even though they are in tank mode. But yeah, 14 straight's not good, and they lose a few more, they're going to start getting close to record territory, which I'll look up as you answer who your team of the week is and whether you agree with mine.
I do agree that they're not doing very well right now, and I agree with that. With losing to a certain degree sort of negates what you're trying to do as far as, hey, look, we're losing games. I get it. We're tanking, but we're trying to do it the best way that we can. But they've gotten into a certain territory that we thought maybe Houston was going to have. It's not a pretty scene. Just not to mirror you all the time, I do agree with you. I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards now. Lost 4 in a row, 2 out of their last 10 on the win column. Started the season very well. Those guys did a great job. They've been battling, but they're losing a little bit of steam right now, and they're in 7th. Right now, there's not a lot. There's only about a half game between them and Boston, who's in 10th. Could be a stiff drop for them, especially if guys start getting a little frustrated and maybe voicing. You got Bradley Beal. You don't know what's going to happen with him. You've got some things happening, but hopefully those guys have done a remarkable job in the beginning of the year. Hopefully they could sort of turn their stuff around. But right now they're sort of on a downward sort of pace. I wouldn't say a spiral, but they're not looking too great these days.
No, they're not. They're they're all over the place, that's for sure. And they weren't picked highly preseason. They surprised a lot of us, and we all said, "Oh shit, maybe they'll be a middle of the pack Eastern Conference team." But I think reality's starting to set in. They're not sneaking up on anyone anymore. They still have a decent roster, but I think they'll float in. They should get into a playing game regardless. But they were definitely a candidate. For those wondering at home, the most games ever lost in a row. 26 Philadelphia 76ers in the 2013-14 trust the process years, I believe. Cavaliers are actually tied with them at 26 in 2010, 2011. The bottom of that list in the top 25 or 30 odd is San Francisco Warriors in 64-65 had 17 in a row. So Detroit are getting close to the top 30 all time if they don't win a few more games. And doesn't look like it's going to get any easier for them. So they've had some injuries, some ins and outs. Jeremy Grant now looks like he's out for a while and he's trying to get out of there. So I anticipate them being the season team of the week because it's not going to get any better. But we'll watch that space. NBA COVID, man, everywhere. I joked about on socials saying that we're at a point where they just need to advise who's not in the protocols rather than who's in the protocols pro because it's starting to outweigh itself. NBA Board of Governors call on Friday. Overwhelming sentiment about NBA owners to do whatever is necessary to avoid postponements and cancellations this season, league sources said. In the backdrop of that view, they outlined a plan regarding replacement players were approved by the Board of Governors during a meeting Friday. Basically, after the first case of COVID, a team would be able to permitted to add a 10-day player, but after a second, third, and fourth case, teams will be required to add a 10-day player. They would be, yeah. So teams would be limited to 3 replacement players, and salaries won't count against the cap or tax. As it's going on, like I said, on our call-in, there's 24 players out in the Magic versus Nets game today going on right now as we speak. 24, pro. I'm not great at math, but that leaves you with a 3-on-3 essentially with some G League guys. Yeah. But it's scary times. It's teetering. It's looking like who knows what can happen. I'm not sure if they have a hub set up as an emergency. What that's all looking like. What are you hearing on that side of the world with the season? Will it continue to go on? Will they have to pause? What's going on?
I don't think anybody knows. I think people, Jeff Van Gundy was talking about it on the Mavs Laker game the other night. He's thinking there's going to be either another bubble or a pause. And, a lot of people, you just start hearing that more and more in the media. I don't think really anybody knows. And I agree with the owners. Like if I'm an owner and I'm like, I don't think that they want any stop to the season. I think they got to find a way to get it done. The problem is now you start getting into these rosters. Somebody was joking around tonight. Drew Hanlon, who's an NBA trainer, who tweeted out like the starting lineups to, I think, was the Orlando and Brooklyn game. And I tweeted back at him because like the names that were on there, like Robin Lopez is on it and Blake Griffin were, but like literally everybody else was.
Patty was on it, yep.
Yeah, Patty was on it too. I said, you were at a EuroLeague game? Because I have fucking no idea where he was at, and it's unbelievable. But like, that's the thing. All right, hey, we need this money train to keep going. We think we could keep going through it. We don't want to just stop or have to do a bubble. It's just going to mess everything up. Yet, do you want a product that has those players on it, where most of them are going to be D-League guys, the guys that you have to call up, and the league gives you that sort of exception to on your roster if you have COVID to sign these players. I don't think there's one absolute answer that you have. It's definitely impacting things. I don't know, Bogues, like, what do you think? Like, how badly do you want to keep the season going when you have players that are, no-name players? Now, yes, it's great to get them games and, get new guys responsibilities as far as getting their feet wet in the NBA. But, I mean, your fans are sitting there and saying, I didn't pay to see these guys. I paid to see star XYZ.
Oh, it's going to hurt ticket sales. There's no doubt about that. One fault is case numbers are going up again. 2 is, yeah, exactly that. I'm paying in LA, paying big money to see player X come to town. The Brooklyn Nets, I'm here to see, Kevin Durant play, not a guy that's fringe roster playing 30 minutes. So that will affect things. Owners are really scared of a hub because it takes away their bottom line with ticket sales and whatnot, hurts that. Joel Embiid made some comments, which I thought were interesting. He said, I thought last year there was great precautions in place and this year it was just all over the place and I just thought it was unprofessional and that's where we are now. So he's obviously spoken out about what I talked about on the call-in, that there's been a bit of complacency, and that comes with the fatigue of 2 years of a pandemic, right? Where people were just going to start getting on with life. My whole thing is with the NBA, I think they can continue on. I think they spooked that they're 95% plus is or everyone at least playing now is pretty much fully vaccinated with boosters, if not the double dose. So I don't think the players are a threat to themselves. I think, we haven't even had NBA player hospitalized. I don't believe we have that has caught the virus, not one. So by looking at those numbers, I would just basically protect the fans to an extent. So maybe you get rid of the front row, the front 2 rows, you set it back a few meters so there's no contact or direct contact within a couple of meters from players, or 5, 10, 15 feet, whatever you want to make it, and you get on with the games, and there's no crowd interaction, unfortunately. So that's the one thing you lose. No high-fiving fans as you come out of the tunnel. Keeping spacing in that, I think it can continue on, because NBA players are pretty secure and sheltered from the public for the most part, and we can make that a little bit more aggressive. I think it can continue on, but I guess the worry that people will say is, well, if these players are flying around, they can pass it on to flight attendants and fans and at community events. Well, that my solution then is we completely stop all the community events, the fan events. We don't have fan interaction, so then the main players are playing, and at the end of the day, if they have COVID, just you can get on with it, right? But that's just basing it on they are the most in shape human beings in the world. They're professional athletes, and none of them have been hospitalized. So that's one way to go about it. I don't think they'll do that. That's just a suggestion that I have thinking out loud, because, like I said, a lot of people say, well, they could infect other people. That's why they need to lock down. And then if they have it, they can basically only go arena, hotel, home, nowhere else while they have it. They have strict protocol where they can't be out partying and clubbing, obviously. And you wouldn't want to do that if you had it anyway. You'd be an idiot to do it. But that's a solution. Otherwise, I really don't know. Like I said, do they have a hub? I assume the NBA has panic button scenarios where they probably do have something as a backup. Sure. They'd have to, right? Whether it's Disney, whether it's Vegas, whether it's wherever. But I know the union's very anti the hub, so that's definitely something they have to negotiate with the union. But I don't know, man. It's causing havoc in everything, even betting. No one knows. Like we were asked on the call-in, who's our favorites? Who the hell knows? Who's going to be healthy? Who's going to lose their whole starting lineup in a playoff series for 10 to 14 days with 6 games, 5 games, Like, you just don't. There's so many variables this season. Again, it's a bettor's nightmare. You just don't know. So one thing that was interesting is Kyrie's back. And man, it's basically telling me that wins are more important than the virus at this point, because they're in the doldrums. Brooklyn need to win games right now to stay afloat in the top 2, top 3 in the East. Joe Tsai, who was adamant on, he's very heavy pro-vaccination and said, if Kyrie's not going to vax, I don't even want him to play road games. He can just stay home. Well, he's changed his tune now, pro, because he's a team owner and he needs to win games. And he's basically said that, I need to win games for our team. So basically, COVID's going to take a back seat. They're allowing him back in the fold for road games only. Obviously, he can't play at home, but they need him now. And that was an interesting holdout by Kyrie. So he's got one foot back in the door. It'd be interesting to see if those mandates cease in New York and he can start playing home games by playoff time. Yeah,
I think it would be a disaster, a PR nightmare if they let him play in New York without the vaccinations. If those are the rules, if those rules are still intact. Look, everybody wants to be Mr. or Mrs. Integrity until it affects your bottom line or affects your win-loss record. And I think people just go back on that, and that's what the difference between teams with true culture and the teams that hang up signs that they say they have culture in their locker room. I think that, look, if that's your stance, that's your stance. Look, they're good. They're a good team. They're I wouldn't say a dynasty type team, but they could win multiple championships. If they, maybe something gets figured out in the future with Kyrie, with the vaccination, or the rules change or whatnot. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of going back on your word unless it's deathly, it's a life or death situation. And it just goes to show most people are just going to, they're going to preach it, being, all this integrity and culture stuff until it affects them, their bottom line, or affects them. And that's just sort of that's how I see it. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. That's just sort of the way I see things. And it's just a shit show on wheels. Well, look, if you're going to let him play part-time in the beginning of the year, I'm all for it. But let's get a plan, let's stick to it, and that we're going to stick to our guns, regardless if we're 82-0 or 0-82 or 41-41. But obviously, that's sort of where we are.
To win, bro. You got a championship to win. COVID can wait. Yeah. I have a championship ring I need, and COVID can wait, and then we'll kick him off the team once we've got that chip, and then make him double vax. That's what I'm reading for this. There is hypocrisy. One last piece in this, I had a little chuckle about some honesty from Andrew Wiggins, and I love honesty, and whether he's right or wrong, that's not the point of why I'm putting this out there. But a journalist asked him if he's glad he got vaccinated, given the cases spiking all across the NBA. The answer was, no, I'm not, but it is what it is, I guess. I just love that he didn't go the political route of like, yeah, I am actually, because he just said, I'm good. I'm still disappointed I had to get it, and it is what it is. But shout out to Wiggins there for a bit of honesty, which you don't see very often. Like I said, you might heavily disagree with what he said, but at least he was honest about it. But let's hope the NBA can continue on, because we love to get on our weekly podcast and talk about it. A lot of people get joy in watching the games, but it is. Yeah, man, it's Russian roulette right now. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. What do they do? Who knows? The case numbers are rising, but we'll see. We'll watch that space. So, the whole Indiana Pacers team wants out. That's what I'm reading. Sabonis is, there's leaks now. Miles Turner, Sabonis. I think we can just basically draw a line through the roster and say they all pretty much want out. If anyone can jump ship, they will. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I think I'm looking at it as a rebuild. Someone might want to tell their owner, Herb Simon. He has come out and said that he's happy with the current team and we are not rebuilding, Pro. So I'm not sure if he's watching the same games we are, but Herb, I think you're within an iota of a blow up. And I think you just need to get on with it if you want to have some longevity as a small market pro. But what are your thoughts around the Pacers? How hard do you think they go with a blow up? Do they listen at office for everyone? From what I've heard, no one's untouchable, which you rarely see these days, pro. There's always one or two guys that they kind of we really don't want to move them. They're kind of untouchable, but they look like their whole roster is up for ransom.
Yeah, I do. I think that those guys are just tired of losing, and I don't think it has a lot to do with what's going on this year. I just think that those guys have been around that. They just really haven't had much playoff success. And then you had the debacle last year, what happened, and then they're just not winning this year, for one reason or another. Look, their roster is filled with decent NBA players, even up top. Not great NBA players, but good NBA players. But good NBA players isn't good enough to win, especially in the East this year. I do think that everybody's on the block. I do think that, look, the owners are going to say the PR thing. They're just going to say, they're going to say everything's great, and that's obvious. And I think they need to. They can't blow it up where the young players. Rick's not a coach that's going to, wait around with young players. It's just not. Plus they're not bad enough to get in the top two. No one's going to give them like an unprotected pick for any of those guys. They'll give you players. Like, I think that what they should do is they should combine players, trade them for a really good player that might be on the market. Trade them for, I don't know, McCollum. Or trade them for, if you can get Ben Simmons. And if you have to trade a combination of these guys, LeVert and Sabonis, Brogdon, LeVert, whatever it is, and trade it. But get players back that, that maybe you could shed some salary. Maybe you could, get a player that's, in a little bit better than what you have. They're just new names, which is great. You just sort of change things, change the players, just sort of change what you're looking at every day. But I think you could combine some of those players in the roster and get something good. I just wouldn't give you great picks or players for anything on that roster. But what I would do is I'd give you a pretty good player for two of those guys. If I'm like, look, if you're a team that needs it, yeah. But I'm not giving you an unprotected pick that's going to be in the top 5 or 6. I'd probably, at best, for, say, Sabonis is the best player on that roster, I'm probably going to give you protected to 10, a pick protected to 10 for him. I'm not going to give you unprotected. It's just he doesn't have that value. Miles Turner is a good player, hell of a shot blocker, good big guy. But I'm not giving you the farm for those guys. I'm giving you, like I said, if you combine them, maybe I'll give you something, but I'm not going to give you a great player. They're sort of where San Antonio is. They're not bad enough to be a top 2 in the draft, even if you clear things out, because you're going to have to take players back, in these trades, and they're going to be something. So maybe they can get down a little bit. Now, Indiana's not great right now, but I can't see them being worse than Detroit and some of these teams. I just don't. They're in a tough situation right now because their roster is just And I don't think there's a huge market for those guys. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it that way.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they might get a, second tier, third tier starts, a bit younger for maybe 2 or 3 of those guys in a package, or I'm not sure, but it's not looking great there. I mean, they're like I said, they're within an iota of a complete blow up, complete rebuild. I just don't see them having enough to even be a contending playoff team for a while, and then even the young guys, like who do they develop that they can surround a squad around? They don't really have much there. They've got some younger shooters, but they don't have that superstar, right? The Paul George when they had him when he was there, and those kind of guys. So leading into that, Dennis Smith Jr. made a post about Rick Carlisle, and we spoke about it a little bit on the call in as well. So they'll be at the end of this podcast with the Q&As. But yeah, I mean, Luka Doncic as well. That stuff's been rehashed, and I guess you got asked about it, and you were there with a lot of that stuff. But Dennis Smith Jr. was pretty scathing with his remarks about how, 1 week he was told to do one thing, then he was told to do another thing, and then he was, the franchise guy, and then he wasn't, and then we love you, and then we hate you, and he just felt like he was yo-yoed into, mental anguish, essentially. And I'm not sure if you agree with that because you were there around that, but give us your thoughts around Dennis Smith Jr.'s comments.
Yeah, Dennis had an interesting career in Dallas. Look, he came in, they liked him right off the bat. They loved him right off the bat. Like a month or so before the draft, that's what they wanted to do with their pick. And they had aspirations of him being Russell Westbrook. And, leading up to the draft, there's a lot of Donovan Mitchell talk in the article that was written, and I didn't hear that a lot. Like, they loved his workout. They loved him as a kid, but in the draft room, his name really wasn't heavily mentioned. It wasn't, all right, who are we going to take, Donovan or Dennis Smith? I remember getting the intel that the Knicks were going to take Nakia, and probably like after the second pick, I found out. And I remember giving that to Cuban, and then they were like ecstatic because they're going to get their guy. So they got him. He had a great summer league. Again, everyone's like, wow, we got the next Westbrook, this and that, and it just, look, I didn't love him coming into the draft, just because, look, I think that when you have a coach that can coach a certain guy, a certain type of point guard, right? And this kid was going to be a project for sure, as far as how to be a point guard in the NBA. You'll never turn him into prototypical. I don't think you should. If he's not, I don't think you should. But it was going to take some time. And I think these NBA players sometimes, when you draft them, they treat them like a bride and groom getting ready for a wedding. You spend 15 months getting ready for a wedding. You spend $100,000. You get married in a castle. Everything's great. And then nobody put in any work into actually working on what marriage is going to be like, and they get divorced in a year. And I think that, when you're thinking about drafting a guy like that, and who your coach is, what type of point guard would be good for him? Look, I think McConnell will be good for him. JJ Barea is good for him. Brogdon's good for him. Luke Ridnour would have been good for him. But a guy that has to develop, and you have to go through ups and downs, and a lot of downs as far as running plays, and because he couldn't really shoot that great. So I think there was a lot of ups and downs, and they weren't ready for it. And you know how it is, Bogues. They love you 1 minute, then 1 minute they're looking at other people. It just is what it is. And yeah, I agree. I think they wanted him to play fast one day, and then you're playing too fast. All right, you're going to play slow, or you're playing too slow. And it was tough for him to deal with. And look, for what I'll give it 100%. I thought Dennis Smith was a great kid. I thought Dennis Smith did anything that you asked him to do. And I didn't think that he was going to be like that coming in. And he had some, not so great wiring coming into the NBA. Look, he came in, he was basically could do whatever he wanted in high school and college, and no one really sort of gave him structure. So he just sort of played. And then, he'd have to get used to doing the day-to-day things that a pro is going to do. And look, he was, like I said, he handled it like a champ. Sometimes he didn't. And sometimes, he was late or things like that. But for, any way you wanted him to play, he was, okay with it. But he just got frustrated into a frustrating situation. And a guy like that, if you're going to develop him into being the player that he was going to be, you have to ride with him, and you have to be by his side, ups and downs, and be consistent with that. And I think that everybody was trying to win. You got a situation where team wants to win. They won a championship a few years before, and they're just not used to developing a point guard like that. And I thought he was going to be Eric Bledsoe when we had him. I didn't think he was going to be Russell Westbrook. I thought he was going to be a really good streaky shooting two that could really guard people, that could get out in transition and really fuck the game up with his athleticism and being able to just play hard. And it just wasn't a great relationship. And you make moves like that, again, when you draft a guy where your coach is so highly coveted in the organization. I don't think you draft a guy like that if your coach is that highly coveted. And that's just going to be problems. Trading for Rondo, I would trade Jay Crowder for Rondo 10 times out of 10. But knowing how that was going to be with the relationship, I would have stayed away from it. just off that, not the talent part, but that I would draft Dennis Smith for sure. And I think Dennis Smith could have been a really good player, but you have to play him and you have to live and die with his mistakes and continue to develop him. That being said, the Kristaps for Porzingis trade, I would have traded Dennis for Porzingis. Even if he became a good player, I would have still done the trade at that time.
Yeah.
NBA players, this, Bogues, like, they think that, like, a lot of people think that you get drafted in the first round lottery, you're on easy street. You're going to be LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and guys like that. You're like Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption. That's who you are mostly as an NBA rookie, especially if you're drafted with a coach that you're not going to get really like be great with, coming from two ends of the spectrum. You're going to play for a team that you have to earn your spot. One day they love you, one day they don't. You're on the trading block. And like Andy Dufresne, like you got to plan your escape in the sense that you got to be mentally tough every day and roll with it and continue to get better and roll with the ups and downs, roll with going to the D League, rolling with all these things. But I really think you need a plan for these guys, and I don't think they had a good enough plan. Look, I got taken off of working with young guys his draft, and I didn't really deal with him a lot on the floor. I dealt with him a lot with meetings, talking to him and trying to help him, and it was frustrating for him. But I'll tell you one thing: he never said a bad word about Luka Doncic. Like I don't say what's going on in meetings with with team players and stuff, but I will tell you one thing: he never had any ill will or even though Luka got drafted the year after, and he went from being the starting point guard to Luka being the future. He handled that very well. I think he just wanted to play, and he wanted someone that's like, who's going to have his back and play. And I think that he probably thought he got fucked, and it's a weird situation, Yeah,
no doubt. That was some of the reasoning for the trade. There was leaks from Dallas saying they don't get along with Luka, which was horrendously funny because they were supposed to be really close. But someone obviously from the organization was trying to, make up a reason as to why they moved on from him so fast and all that. And then obviously, that ended the way it did. But he's getting some minutes now. I think he's in Portland, right? Getting a little bit of playing time.
Yeah, he's in Portland.
He had a game the other night, maybe last week. We had a 20 ball, so hopefully he rehashes it. And just thought his comments were interesting. Your guy, Danny Ainge, pro, back to Utah.
That's great.
BYU affiliations, Utah affiliations. Good fit for Utah. Smart move, you think?
Yeah, anytime you could add someone like Danny to your staff and your organization, it just makes you that much stronger. The organization is such in a good spot anyway, but having a guy that could just oversee things and you could sort of bounce things off of is great. Working with Danny's, he doesn't have to make a million changes like he did when he took Boston over, and he felt as though he had to trade like Antoine Walker and change the whole roster. He's got a team that's a borderline Western Conference final team with a franchise player and a bunch of great, really good players on it, a good coach, very good coach. And so I think he's good. I just think it's like their GM, Justin Zanuck, is very good, but I think having a guy that could just oversee and just sort of be someone that you could sort of be a sounding board for and bounce things off of. He's had, I think he took that team to I want to say 5 Eastern Conference Finals appearances. I mean, he did really well for Boston and building that organization up and winning a championship. I think he's great, and I think it was a great decision. I'm glad that he didn't try to get Portland. I'm glad he's obviously huge in the Mormon community and huge with Utah. Loves Salt Lake and loves being there. He's a great dude, man. I really enjoyed working for him.
I believe he has a house down there too, doesn't he?
I think he does. Yeah, he's got houses in a lot of places.
Yeah, he's got connections to the city. His son obviously played for BYU when I was in Utah as well, so he's loved down there. And I think they got a really good chance to. I think they're tweaks away from maybe getting to that conference finals. I don't think they're obviously, like you said, that he doesn't need to come in like in Boston where it's like, hey, we need to, blow the roster up and get some picks and develop and XYZ and all that kind of stuff. That, he's got an interesting job where I think, like I said, it could be a tweak or two away of some genius of Danny Ainge to get them finally back to that final series. So we'll watch that space. Pro now, I have to, go after my own team a little bit, but I don't know if you saw the score, but the Sydney Kings got absolutely pummeled in Melbourne. One of those games for the Sydney Kings is how you put it. It was 24-5 in the first quarter, pro. We had 0 points with 3 or 4 minutes remaining in the quarter, and then became, holy shit, are we going to score? We ended up losing 89-47, pro. It was very, very ugly. Nothing went right. Nothing went right for us. Everything went right for them. One of those nights that you just chalk up to, you lost in the first 5 minutes. The game was basically over. We just couldn't get it back. People in the media freaking out, and we're copping a lot of shit from people that already don't like us, which was fine. But I was quietly pumped about it, pro, after the game. So we lost the game by 40. We got pummeled, got laughed at. Do you know why I was pumped for it?
No.
Because we had a game 2 days later. And I mean, as an owner or as a GM or as a coach, probably not so much as a coach because you're in the bubble, but as a suit, you're really going to figure out what your team is made of. And that's why I was pumped. And people might listen to this and go, you're crazy. You lost by 40. How are you pumped? No, I was pumped because we had a game 2 days later, which was last night here in Australia, against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, who are tipped as one of the championship favourites. They're healthy. We're unhealthy. We've got a few outs. One of our best imports is out. We've got other guys banged up, guys back from injury. But you know what? This is a perfect opportunity to show what we're made of. What are we going to now go into a 6-game losing streak and pout? Or are we going to come back and punch them in the face? And we did. And that's why I was pumped. I thought there's no better time for us to do this than second week of the season. You don't want this to happen late in the season because that's a whole different test and you want to iron out these ups and downs early. So I was pumped for it. We came out last night, punched them in the face, we're up double digits early, never relinquished that. I think we won by 10 at the end of the game or 11. And it was just a real kind of insight into the psyche of being part of a club and what you should think about. Like, I'm not going to lie, during the game, I turned it off in the third quarter. It was really hard to watch and the game was over and it was like, you know what? It's a frustrating game to watch as it would be for the players to play. So just going to kind of calm down a little bit. And then after I gave it some thought, I was like, I'm actually really excited for the next game. And then we've got another game on potentially on Wednesday. So, yeah, man, I don't know what your thoughts are around that. We'll talk about it a little bit more in story time, but there's a whole psyche within seasons and different battles that you face that can be all kind of pulled up and boxed up into your success or your failure, right? And I think that's a big part that people don't understand that are everyday fans.
Yeah, there's going to be nights where it just, nothing you do is going to be right. And then everything your opponent's going to do is going to be right. And they're going to pummel you. And in the first 3 minutes, like, yeah, this is not going to be good. And anything that you do ain't going to be right. And like, it's just going to be a hard night. It's just going to be one of those nights where you're just going to get pummeled. And, it could be against anybody. Just that's it. Like in college, you get those cupcakes in your schedule that you knew that you're going to beat by 50 or 30 or 25, and they're just going to be easy. In the NBA or in the NBL, when you're playing pro, there aren't a lot of teams like that, and you can get your brains beat in at any given night. But like you said, there's so many of these games that you're just going to go on to the next one, and you're just going to go to the next game, and you just got to you can't wear it on your sleeve every game. Everybody wants to win, I get it, but there are going to be games where you suck, and you just got to deal with it. Then you're going to be a sucky team, and then one night you're going to do everything right, and you're going to beat this team you had no business beating. So, yeah, it's just it's an interesting thing. And yeah, I saw that interview, the post conference with your coach, and he did not look happy, man. He did not look happy.
He texted me and said he's gonna kill her. What'd you say? He looks like a serial killer or something.
Dude, I forgot, but he looked like. Yeah, I would not fuck with him. Like he was a horror movie waiting to happen, because he was not happy. And you could definitely see that.
Yeah, but Xavier Cooks made some comments and said, it's one game, and it is. And I think that's the right mindset to have. You don't get, there is percentage that plays its part in the NBL. At the end of the day, you don't get an extra win. You don't get 5 wins for blowing someone out by 40, and you don't get 5 losses for losing by 40, and it's the right mindset to have. You come back, and as bad as that night was, if you back it up with another egg last night, and then you got 2 shitty games on a weekend, then yeah, you deserve everything that comes with it. But the fact that they came back and fought, we had every excuse, injuries, this, that, just had a bad game, our confidence is down, and it's a big test for teams. So for coaches out there listening, whether you coach juniors or whether you coach a semi-pro team or even a pro team, sometimes these kind of things are important as part of your journey. You got to have the tough times, because no one ever wins a championship by having no adversity or moments of not being comfortable, and you have to go through that. Now, before that game last week, the Melbourne Derby was on, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix versus Melbourne United. Did you see the dunk, bro? So I'm going to ask you.
I did. No, I did, because I saw that there was a big commotion going on Twitter, and
yeah, it blew up.
I checked it out, and yeah, I did.
Yeah, Daly's verticality was textbook. But he's not 7 foot, though. I think you forgot that he's not 7 foot. And then he fell on his ass. It made the news all over the world. It's millions and millions of views. Great for the NBL. Mason Peatling came in. And what did you think about his little shirt front takeout of Creek.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think people just get a little bit bottled up during games and they just let some emotions out. I mean, look, you get dunked on. Everybody gets dunked on. Who cares? But take a guy out who he's not looking. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. He got a game suspension. I probably thought he should have got maybe another game on top of that. People said, Creek shouldn't have stood over Delhi. He didn't really stand over him. He just yelled and showed some emotion, so I don't think he did too much. Even Delhi said, I don't care, I got dunked on, big deal. I've been dunked on hundreds of times in my career and I don't really care. But yeah, it was interesting because it's dangerous precedent when you take someone out without them looking, and it then caused a little bit of an all-in, which had players and benches clear and all that kind of stuff. So a few suspensions there. But to finish off NBL, there's a guy, look, in the NBL we have, I call them courtside jesters, pro. Some teams have,
nice.
Some teams have, they literally are though. Some teams have a guy on a microphone, wireless microphone, that runs around the court, walks up and down the stairs, and just like, come on, crowd, get involved. Come on, boo this player.
Oh, one of those guys, yeah.
And you're just like, it's just so 1990s, and it needs to go. I'm not a fan of it. The Melbourne United guy, his name is Wayne Peterson, absolute. Just worst of the worst. He's had numerous issues over his 20, 30 years with players and coaches, and he got in trouble during that game because he made some borderline racial remarks. I don't think they were racist, but they weren't in good taste with Hungry Jack's is our, Burger King is, we call it Hungry Jack's here. They have a promotion that if an opposing player misses 2 free throws in a row, the whole crowd gets a free cheeseburger that night. So the crowd really, the crowd really gets up on their feet when people are shooting free throws. They miss the first one, and then it's a good thing for the crowd. It's actually a great promotion. I love it by Hungry Jack's and the NBL. I think it's a very clever one. But he's at the free throw line, and Joe Chi and the Chinese guy that was with Houston, he said something along the lines of like, there's no point making noise, you won't understand what you're saying anyway, something like that, right? Like, poor taste, the guy's a face of the league, whatever. So he's got a 2-game suspension for that. But my point is, the guy should be gone. Like, we played them in game 2 of the semifinals, much similar to our last game against United a couple of nights ago. They beat us by 50 or 40. They were up by 60 at one point in game 2. We won game 1, they won game 2. And this guy, we had Casper Ware, who was a former player of theirs, a championship winning former player, I believe, of theirs. And the way he treated him, Casper had a horrible shooting night and just was tormenting him on the microphone during the whole game. And you're just like, made it about himself, and just not a great person, really bad for the game. But I guess my gripe is that he's got a 2-game suspension. He'll come back and he'll do this again sometime down the track. There's numerous players that have put complaints in about him, and it's just, I don't know how you feel about it, pro. I'm all about banter and back and forth, but when it's an actual league official that's hired by a club or a league that's actually part of the family of employees and players and coaches doing that kind of stuff, it's just really, really bad taste.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this day and age, if it's even close, it's not going to be good. And you just shouldn't really put yourself in that situation. Like you said, he's not like a courtside fan, even though he acts like one. He's employed by a team, by the league, whatever he's doing. You can't put yourself in that situation. You can't put the league and the team, and when you're saying things like that. Is it Sterling like? No, but it's still like, in this climate, you can't even come close to anything. Just like you got to think before you talk and speak, and it's an embarrassing thing. It's for the kid. I've been around the kid. Kid's a great kid. When I used to go to China with Nike, when he was a young kid, you just don't want to do that to anybody. You don't want to put anyone in that situation. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the kid and embarrassing for the league, and having an employee that sort of has had countless run-ins with people. It's just, it's a fucking joke. You gotta lay off of it.
Yeah, and I think he gets caught up in the motion of the game and thinks he's a part of the team. I mean, this guy so United beat us by game 2. In that final series a couple of years ago, and then we had game 3 on our floor, which was a great bounce back for us, losing by 40-50. He came back and punched them back in game 3 and knocked them out of the finals. For instance, in pre-game, he walked through our team warm-ups. Like, he's an employee of theirs, like just doing shit like that constantly, trying to cause issues. And my whole thing is, like, it's time to move on from courtside gestures. I think Perth have one as well. It's just, I think it's so 1990s, 2000. The product is on the floor. You have an announcer like most NBA arenas, European arenas. You have all that, but to have a guy just
blatantly yelling all kinds of nonsense on a microphone to me is just very unprofessional. And we'll be talking about this again in the future, I reckon, because this guy's definitely not gonna ease up. I think he just gets white line fever like he's a player and comes out and says stupid shit. But hopefully the NBL and Melbourne United come to their senses and move him on and put him into retirement, pro. So we'll see how that goes. All right, stats: useful or useless? Most consecutive games with a 3-pointer made. Who do you think number one would be? Pretty easy guess.
Steph Curry,
152. I'm not sure if you're looking at the list, pro, but who do you think number two would be?
Oh man, I saw the list. It was sort of an obscure player, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's
someone you'd never
household name.
Someone you'd never guess.
Yeah,
like Lou Dort.
That's right, Lou Dort. Yeah,
40. It's not close, but remember, Lou Dort was a player that was 2 playoffs ago where they mucked him. Who was that first? When Chris Paul was there, they were basically standing in the paint on Lou Dort. Do you remember that? And they were just letting him, and he was hoisting up threes like crazy. He was going like 1 for 8, like 0 for 11. So kids, there you go. He was a guy that other teams scouted to dare to shoot him to threes. He's now made one in 40 straight games and has gotten better and better. I'm a big fan of his. I think his improvement has been awesome. So he's a fun player to watch. But useful or useless, that stat, bro?
It's useful for sure. I remember when Danny Ainge had the record or challenging the record. I think he hit it in like 60 straight games or something like that back when he was playing. But no, that stuff's useful. That's consistency to hit a 3-pointer in consecutive games like that, 60 or 150 plus. I mean, it's pretty remarkable stuff, man.
It is, and I think it's useful just based on Lou Dort's improvement. So I'll tick that in the useful box. All right, talking about our NBA all-time 3-point leaders, we're going to go to NBL Pro. Who do you think number one would be in the NBL?
Oh, Andrew Gaze.
Now he has 1,826 made 3-pointers. Number 2, Shane Heal, 1,602. John Riley is in third at 1,323. Of the current active players, pro, Chris Golding, 862 makes. On current averages, Chris Golding would need another 14 seasons to catch Andrew Gaze. It's pretty amazing, but there is a caveat in this, pro. Games back in the day were 48 minutes instead of 40. So you got an extra 8 minutes to hoist some up, and Gaze definitely probably got another 10 up in that 8 minutes.
Oh, without question. Mm-hmm.
And there was a few seasons back in the day where they played a little bit more games instead of the 32 we play now. They played maybe 38 or 40 or random numbers. So there is a bit of an anomaly there, but it's still, even with that, Chris is almost 1,000 away from Andrew Gaze, and he's close to retirement. So it just tells you how dominant Andrew Gaze was with his shooting, albeit played for his father, and he'd somehow managed to play 52 minutes in a 48-minute game because he just never gets subbed out. But useful or useless on that one, bro?
Oh, it's useful. That's definitely useful. I mean, it just goes to show how fucking, even though he had extra minutes, but still, I mean, that's amazing though. The 3-point numbers that he put up in his career. Yeah. I know I gave him a lot of shit on the pod, but that was pretty impressive.
No doubt, yeah, he definitely got him up and made a lot of them. And he was a pretty big shooter back in the day, 6'6". Had size, so he definitely was not the norm back then. All right, Steven Adams won 13 straight opening jump balls, pro. Useful or useless? Stat Muse, baby.
Pretty useless, actually.
I don't know how they have that stat, but well, I don't know where it is all time because there probably hasn't been tracked. But
I want to know the asshole that's getting paid $12.50 an hour that has to track fucking who wins jump balls every night.
Yeah, just an interesting one. I saw him post. It was a fun one.
Sometimes with jump balls, I mean, no one really even gives a fuck about it. Like they just hoist it up. Yeah. So, but it's pretty interesting, though. I mean, it's a funny one. That's a pretty interesting record.
Useless,
it's a funny one for sure.
When he lost his 14th, and they were like, "Oh, there goes that one. We'll start counting again." All right, Markieff Morris, pro, has missed 17 straight games since the Jokic altercation. Useful or useless? Because apparently he got hurt from that Jokic pushback, something with his back or neck or something. But 17 straight games since that, perfectly healthy. When he pushed Jokic try to push Jokic to the floor. Pretty interesting.
I guess it's interesting. I guess it's useful. The fucking guy's hurt, so I don't know. It sucks to get hurt, but again, like it wasn't like Jokic put him in that situation to start with. I mean,
exactly.
It sucks what happened, but it wasn't like that was definitely going to happen if he didn't hit the guy. So useful for sure, because you don't never want to see a guy hurt, and obviously that unless he's trying to milk that whole thing out, which I don't think he is, but it's a pretty interesting Interesting stat. Is that stat news or is that just your own?
I just saw that. I think it was ESPN stats and info. I just saw it. Yeah, because I was just like, shit, he actually is still out. I haven't seen him play, and maybe if he didn't do the cheap shot in the first place, we wouldn't even be talking about it. So
no doubt,
pretty interesting one because it's cost him a lot of games. All right, the Knicks are 2-7 with no Kemba, and they are 10-10. They just lost, so they were 10-9. 10-10. They just lost to a close game to Boston. 10-10 with Kemba. Useful or useless, bro?
That's always useful. To see where a guy is when you have him versus don't have him. I know there's a lot of, he's been out of the rotation for a while, but, goes to show you the guy is pretty valuable to your team. He's not a perfect player. Never been a huge Kemba Walker fan. I always thought he was like a Ben Gordon type. Could come off the bench, score a lot of points, but he's not really a playmaker, not really a defender, but he could really score. But he's useful for that team. He could find ways to score it in bunches. He could help your team. It's just, how it is, Bogues. Guys point out, they point out the bad things a player can't do instead of saying, you know what, we know what he can't do. That's fine. This is what he could do. He could help us. And he's always been a gamer that could score. So,
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think it's useful.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think sometimes you don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? And I think them sitting him, they've realized they're putting him back in the lineup. Boston's playing a little bit better. I mean, they didn't have a great half against Golden State the other night, but they came back and made a game of it. The Knicks just lost to Boston. So, look, I mean, I don't think he's the reason why they were losing. That's clear. So, do you need to play him 40? Probably not, but I like the fact that Thibs has given him a second chance, second lease on life. Seems like he's a good dude in that locker room. Didn't cause too much problems around it, and he's come back with a vengeance. So that's always good. He had a good game today too. I think he had 20-something tonight, so that was good. Fact or fake news? What do you got?
All right, Bogues. Fact or fake news? JB Bickerstaff's the coach of the year at this point.
Yeah, I think
this point.
Yeah, I think so. For where they were picked, the other one would be Memphis, but Memphis were picked as a playoff team. Cleveland, for a lot of people, weren't. Even me, I don't think I had them up there. So, I mean, they've by far and beyond overachieved. And it doesn't look like it's a fluke. Like, it doesn't look like it's Washington where they came out of the gates well and whatever. Like, it's really good to see a small market with a development plan whilst trying to win. And they're arguably. They've got a chance to maybe get to a second, third round as well. So they're playing really good team ball. And I think at this point, I would give it to him. Fact.
Yeah, I would say fact too. I mean, he's changing the game a little bit. Not changing the game because it's not really being changing, but he's changing it on the way he wants to play.
7-footers?
Playing bigs. Yeah, he's playing the game big. And I didn't give him any chance to win this year. I love Jared Allen, but I just didn't think they could put it together. They had those two gods and, Sexton and Garland and one got hurt, so you think, they're going to go in the tank after one got hurt, and they're still doing it, and they're still hanging out. They're still sort of getting things done.
18-12, they're in fourth place, tied for fourth.
Yeah,
with the Miami Heat, and they're basically 3.5 games from first place. So I anticipate Brooklyn falling out of that first spot the next couple of games. Chicago's still in second, and then Milwaukee in third. So they've got every chance to finish with some home court advantage too, which is very, very important. So great to see them back.
Hey, Bogues, with all the COVID stuff, we will see fact or fake news. We will see all non-NBA starting five for at least one game by the end of the season. Basically, all call-ups because of COVID will start an NBA game this season by the end of the year.
So call-ups, or is it free, like 15, 16, 17, 18 guys plus call-ups, right?
Yeah, like
not your top 13.
No. 2 ways and down. How about that? 2 ways and down. So your 2 ways will start, and then the guys that you had to pull out of the.
I think fact. Like it's almost there. Like Brooklyn's, God forbid, Patty and one other guy, Blake, get it. Then you that's Brooklyn right now. So fact, I think it's going to happen, especially with how long it takes. Some guys are positives, they continue to test positive 13, 14, 15 days. Some guys it's 4 or 5 days, which is the other thing that's weird. Like some guys have come back really quick. Like LeBron was 3 days and then I don't know how many positives you need. Is it 5 or something like that? But I understood that, you can be early on in this, they were saying that, you could still, it was always 14 days, no matter what. As soon as you tested positive, you had 14 days from that test date, whereas I guess the NBA's kind of changed it, or they found false positives along the way. But yeah, I think, fact, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I say it's going to happen as well, for sure. I just think if you got to get in the tank for 10 days, and most of these players do, not all of them, but most of them do, and people they're testing positive and getting in a protocol at an alarming rate. So unless something happens, I could see that happen for sure.
Fact or fake news off that, pro? If that happens, does the arena get higher than a 50% capacity?
Well, let's be honest. There's been a couple of teams like that without having COVID, and they don't even reach it. Yeah, I would say that they don't. I'd say they wouldn't go.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Here's a fact and fake news, Bogues. Will the season stop? Will there be a pause in the season?
That's the $1 million question. Will there be a pause in the season? I think if this continues on for more than, like, you can only do this for so, like, let's say this next layer of guys gets put in the protocol within 3 or 4 days of calling them up. Then what do you do? So I think there might need to be a reset, stop, pause. I know the owners are against it. How would it work? This, that. But I think they might need to hit pause for 2 weeks, formulate a backup plan to a hub potentially. But I think there's going to have to be some sort of pause. I hope they don't, because then, like I said, I think governments will see that and think, oh, maybe we can do a lockdown for the whole city for 2 weeks, just like the NBA. So I hope they don't. But I think it's with the way things are going, I think it's going to happen.
Bogues, it's just like, unless you change how you deal with COVID. And look, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I'm just saying unless you say, okay, I don't think they'll ever do that, because you just put the staff, forget about the fans, you put the staffs on teams in harm's way, because you got to travel and be around these guys, regardless if you have masks on and stuff like that. But unless they change the way they deal with it and say, let them play with it and, get rid of courtside seating and all that and interaction with fans, because now you're going to be seeing D-League teams. Like I was saying today, the last couple of days, I was like, all right, well, probably what they should do is they should have a draft of D-League players, players that are eligible or eligible that you could buy out from overseas, and have a draft where everybody drafts like 8 guys from the D-League and any other pool of players that are available. But and just to have them, just in case you need to call them up. And you'll have, so who you're going to have already. That, all right, this guy's playing for, I don't know, LA's D-League team, or this guy's playing for Boston's D-League team, but he's going to be for us in Miami if we need to call a guy up. The problem is, do you really want to go through a couple of weeks throughout the year where a majority of players, close to half of your players, are D-League call-ups? This ain't like baseball, where baseball, you've got, you got 5 levels of minor leagues. Probably your top minor league team is probably half pro, half Major League Baseball players that will play either for your team or another team and have pretty good careers. The D-League's not like that. You don't have a bunch of guys that are great, that's going to be good NBA players. You only have a certain amount of players. So now you're going to be really, if guys keep on testing positive, and you got to keep going through different layers of players, it's really going to be, it's not going to be good for the eyes. So, I think they're going to either have to pause, or they're going to have to do something, because unless you're okay with it, unless you're going to go, you know what, we got our sponsorship money, we got our TV money, we've got our ticket sales money, we're just going to deal with it and roll with it and not stop. Or we're going to have to, change the way we deal with people who test positive for it, which I don't think they're going to do, just because of, all the bad press you'll get.
Yeah, public.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it happens. I think it's just a matter of when. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen along the way. So yeah, we'll watch that space. To finish this off, I just wanted to go back to, while I'm telling my spiel, think about some stories of being down and out and coming back that you've experienced. And I think they're the testament to my best and biggest wins have been when we were counted down and out. And I've got 3 examples here. One is NBA, the year we went to the finals, and unfortunately the 3-1 year where we were up 3-1 and we lost. We actually did that to OKC in the Western Conference Finals. They were up 3-1. And they had us covered. KD was balling. Russ had a great series. They had great rotations. Ibaka was prominent in that series. Adams was physical. We're down 3-1 and won Game 5 comfortably at home. We went back for Game 6 and just one of those games where they were up 8-10 the whole game. We never felt like we were really in it. And I remember turning behind our bench with about 2 minutes left. We were down 9, I think, or 8. And the fans are waving at us like, enjoy your flight home. And then Clay just goes bang, 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 and we win the game. And turn around and all those fans were gone. they just ran out of the building. That was one, because we were completely down and out. The other NBA one for me was this last stint that I had with the Golden State Warriors. So Kevin Durant goes down in game, I don't know what game it was in that Houston series, but Houston was obviously, was notable that they were built to beat us and be the Warrior killer, and they were pretty well built to do that. But I remember we were going back to Houston, I believe, and I think it was for or was it game 6? They anticipated winning that and then going back to Golden State for game 7. And we were shorthanded, had a few injuries, but KD being out and a few other guys banged up. And we end up beating them in game 6, really shorthanded. And that was the most emotional win I've seen, just because we weren't supposed to win. Everyone was like, Houston's going to win this and it's going to go back to Golden State. And then it's going to be a game 7, nerve-wracking game. Who knows who wins it from there? Probably Houston were favorites. And we won that. I remember just the celebrations afterwards were huge, and it was just a really emotional moment, emotional game, and it was that team that was always built to beat us. And then the last one was the one I mentioned, was game 2 of the semifinals in 1920. And we win game 1, we steal game 1, Sydney, go back to Melbourne, and they just pummel us from the get-go. They're up 20, they're up 30. You've got that courtside circus gesture running around, abusing, and trying to get the crowd to continue to, kind of abuse us and laugh at us. And are you guys down? And it was 20, 30, 40, 50. I think they got it to 50 odd points at one point, or 60 odd points, and then we cut it back to 40. And I remember after that game, on the bench already with 2 or 3 minutes left, we were all like, we're fine. Hey, it is what it is. Nothing went right today. We chalk it up. We shake their hands, look in the eyes and say, you kicked the shit out of us. But guess what? You got to come back to Sydney for game 3. And most teams, you can see which way they're going to go. And I just felt like we bonded. We came closer together through that game than going opposite directions of like, well, we lost because of this, or you should have done this, or coaches' rotations, or whatever. No one was even thinking that. And we went to coach with a few things. I remember the one adjustment was getting myself out of the pick and roll and getting me down playing out of the dunker a little bit more in the high post, rather than high pick and rolls and then they blitz. And then they were doing a good job of really hard blitzing off me and a few other guys. So then we got Jayshawn Tate and a few other, about 4 men, Cooks to set it and slip out early. And then it was 4-on-3 in that next game with me in the dunker as a serious lob threat. So when I wasn't in the dunker, we didn't really have that lob threat. We had, Cooks was streaky 3-point wise that year, didn't shoot it that well. So, we've got him on the 3 and we could hit him in that roll, like a short roll. I catch it, I throw it to him, and he wasn't confident shooting it at that point. So we made that small adjustment, and we were already thinking about adjustments after that game. What can we do? What can we fix? And it was just amazing to see how we regrouped, came back to Sydney and beat them, ended up beating them. We felt like we had control the whole game. It was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points the whole game. They could never claw it back for the whole duration of the 40 minutes. And then we got to look them in the eyes after they punched us by 50 and shake their hands and send them out of the finals. So those are 3 teams that I was a part of that were just down and out moments that we had no business coming back and winning, and we did. So just wanted to have a little story time around that. What have you got any of those, Pro, your time in Dallas or anywhere else where you just had a game or a playoff series where you had no business winning?
No, but I got one story that the Celtics were down and out when I was working for them. I decided I had to make a decision to stay with the Celtics or go work for Tim Grover. I decided to go work for Tim Grover, and a year later they won a championship. So you're welcome, Boston. So there you go.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I got.
You're the cancer.
Absolutely. So there you go. That not as story wasn't as long and grueling as far as like having to battle through, but I helped Boston win an NBA championship. So you're welcome.
So I take it you didn't come back from any big games in big deficits in Dallas.
I don't think so. Like, I don't remember. I'm sure there was like 1 or 2, but they were about to face about 10 years of mediocrity, and they ended up trading for Luka Doncic, and they got that. So I guess you could count that in there. But no, I don't really remember. I remember giving up some leads. Like, I remember being up like 20 or so at halftime a few times and losing, but I don't really remember, huge like comebacks. We only played in 1 playoff series when I was there. No. I'm sorry. I take that back. I played in 3, but no, I never remember some big comeback that we had. It was just sort of like, business as usual. But yeah, I guess that Celtic story is the closest thing that I got.
We'll take it. All right, that's episode 47. Thanks for joining us again. We'll leave you this week with some questions from our Q&A on the Call-In app. Remember, if you want to download that Call-In app for Apple, it's on web browser. Android should be live. If it's not, it'll be very, very soon. You can jump on and actually live in real time. We do it generally every Sunday, Australian time around midday, and Dallas time, Central time in the US around 7 o'clock. You can jump on, ask us any questions. We have some avid followers that always join every week, so we can get more people joining that. And you get your voice on Rogue Bogues podcast. What could be better? So thanks for joining us at Rogue Bogues on all your social media. At Hoop Consultants is Pro on Instagram and Twitter, and we will catch you next week.
Adios.
Welcome to episode 47 of Rogue Bogues Basketball Series Q&A. We have our first cab off the rank. Chris,
G'day guys. First saying Merry Christmas for you just in advance. So I hope you both have a good one and been a good year so
Merry
far.
Christmas.
Cheers, man. So just probably a couple of questions for you. Probably the first one, and both questions relate to both of you in terms of what you both think. In terms of, when, I suppose, how does it make you feel with particularly players in the NBA or just maybe professional sports in general? You can sort of factor in soccer, AFL, whatever you like. When they sort of talk about, how their upbringing was and how they've come from tough backgrounds and everything and how hard they've had to work, do you almost feel like when they get to a professional level that they almost turn a blind eye to what they've sort of come up, if that makes sense? Like, it's almost like when they get to professional sports, then they start talking about, I'm not going to play because I don't like playing for so-and-so person, or I don't want to play because, I don't feel right. Like, I suppose, how does that make you feel when they talk about what they've come from and how hard they work? It's almost like they get to a professional level. It's almost like they just tone down a little bit. I know it's probably a very detailed question, but just wanted to know your thoughts on that. And just a second question, just being a big AFL fan myself, what's AFL like? How much coverage does it get in the States? And do people really understand it? And did you, from your point of view, ever try to get players involved?
Yeah, the AFL one is an easy one to answer. I'll answer that first. It doesn't really have traction in the US. They used to have a deal with ESPN where Pro could probably talk about this a little more. I know they used to have games on late at night many, many years ago, like a 10, 11, 12 o'clock time slot, I believe, Pro. Is that right? Did you ever catch any of those games many years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I never really watched them, but you're flicking through, you definitely see some, when you go through. But there's really not much coverage. You know what? Like when I was, when I would go to Boston, I would always go to the North End, that's the Italian section of town. The real Italian like cafes and stuff, they would have it on because they like soccer and all that stuff. So they would have some of that on, but on my closed circuit TV or whatever. But there's really not a lot here.
There's not much now. I know they used to have it on ESPN real late. They'd show like a kind of a game of the week or whatever, and everyone used to mainly watch it when they were either coming home drunk or I had no idea what you always hear about goal umpires. What are they doing? Why are they waving flags? So no, not really. No coverage. I don't think it ever will, man. Like I think the AFL cronies down there that think that they're going to go into, they try to go into China like a couple of years ago. Like it's an Australian game. The game's like our government. There's a new rule every other day. People that even come to understand it
true,
and can't because there's all these new interpretations. It's a hard game to follow. It's I just don't think it's similar to NFL in a way. I mean, NFL's got some traction overseas just because we like following American sports, but basically the whole of Europe couldn't give a shit about it. The whole of Asia couldn't give a shit about it. So it's our sport, I think, as big as it gets is in Australia. So that's as far as that goes. I used to have to watch it on I think it was beIN Sports or something back 10, 15 years ago. I'd have to go and watch it through them. And then the last probably 5 years of my career, the AFL, finally, the geniuses decided to put an app out that you could access from overseas. So that made things easier. And then the other question is a long-winded one. Look, I mean, I wouldn't say it's tough because a lot of guys do come from tough beginnings. I think I did through phases. It wasn't as tough as some other guys, but I definitely had my moments as a child, good and bad. And I think it's just one of those things. I think once guys get the love of the game's there when you're younger, if this makes sense, and you have all the battles to get to that level. And I thought as a kid, once you get to the pros, like all the politics is gone. You think like, hey man, like it's just all about basketball. It's probably even worse once you get to the pros because there's so much more involved with money and stats and coaches and GMs. So I think it goes a bit both ways. I think guys get caught in that and then get burnt. I know that was my kind of living was I got burnt a few times and it made me a little bit bitter to the business of basketball. And then I had a bit of resentment towards that. But yeah, on the other side, there is guys that get to that stage and take it for granted, and I've made it now, and no one can tell me shit. So it is a balance, but I think everyone's circumstance is different. So that's the problem. It's all they might come to a realization that everyone in their high school life and everyone in their AAU life was just schmoozing them because of who they were and the opportunity they had. Were they really my friends? Were they really good family members? Did they really have my back? Was it all just because I was going to be a money making machine at one point? And then that realization tarnishes a lot of guys mentally and the way they handle things. So there's a mixed bag, Pro. I don't know what your thoughts are around it.
For me personally, I think probably the thing that probably annoys me the most, I mean, there's probably more just from only because it's more just because, when they sort of say, when you're growing up, obviously you're playing junior sports and things like that, whether it's basketball, footy, whatever, I think for me, it's probably the coach that's probably the biggest thing, where it's where, you might not necessarily like your coach, but at the same time, it's like, well, I've got to play for him because they're the coach. When it's almost like, when they get to that level, it's like, well, it's almost like they think that they're bigger than them. That's the one that probably annoys me the most, I think, is when they say, well, I'm not going to play for them because I don't like the coach. Whereas in my view, they're the ones that call the shots.
Pro, what do you got?
I think you can't really generalize that everybody loses the fire, for that, like the fire for being that hardworking and sort of abandoning where their upbringing and how they was brought up in the game. I think it's easy to get seduced by the business of basketball and turning into that. And when you get into a team and you're a hard-nosed guy and you worked all this way to get there, and then you get in and you maybe have a locker room filled with those guys and you hang out with them and you talk to them and you've seen how those are your vets and those are the guys that are they're like your NBA parents, and that's all you see every day. And then it's easy to get sucked in. I've seen players do that. They get sucked into the business of basketball, and then maybe by year 1, year 2. They'd battle through a hard hamstring or a sore ankle or, working out every day. And then like year 5, they're like, they sort of get sucked in. Then there's the players that never lose it. Now, very few of those, don't get me wrong, but I think it's if you got to put yourself in their shoes too, like imagine you're growing up with almost nothing and you had to work your way to get it. And then you get all this money and everything comes a little more easy. I think it's pretty easy as a human being to sort of lose that edge that sort of got you there in the first place because of the money's there and everything's in front of you. Everybody starts telling you how great you are. You didn't really get hit on in college. Now you get hit on by 10 groupies and every road trip. Everybody's telling you how great you are. Suddenly you had no friends in college. Now you get 40 people that want to hang out with you at night. It's like, it's easy to sort of get to lose your edge a little bit. There's no doubt about it. I wouldn't say they all do, but I think a good percentage do.
Yeah, it's a balance, and then money comes into play, then family, then there's a lot of distractions. So some do it the right way, some don't, but you can't always judge based on that. But to your point, just to finish that off, Chris, different is a different story. Look, for the most part, you do have to try to make it work. You do have to try to play for a coach that you hate. I had Rick Majerus in college. He's not on my Christmas card list to this day. Rest in peace. But it's one of those things. I had to try to figure it out as hard as some days were. And look, you have blow-ups every now and then. But I agree with you, Chris. I think the players that just blatantly come out and say, I don't want to play for this guy. Well, how about you give it a try first before you make those comments? And I think that's a problem. And unfortunately, the NBA and GMs around the league have entertained players when they have those kind of blow-ups and then fire the coach. So then it becomes normal. It's like, okay, I'm the star player. 5 other star players on 5 other teams got their coach fired. Why can't I? And then it creates a kind of snowball effect. But thanks for that one, Chris. We'll move on to the next one. Ashley, you are up.
Hey, mate. Sorry. First time caller, long time listener. Really, really love the podcast, mate. Grew up, I'm a bit older than you, like about 45. I went to St. John's College in Dandenong, lived in Devon Hills, lived in those southern suburbs.
Oh, nice. I'm local.
Oh, mate, it's just like listening to that journey stuff. I just loved it, mate, because it followed your career the whole time. And it was just weird. It was so weird. Like you talk about catching the bus with your bus passes. That was my life growing up as well. I just wanted to talk a little bit about and I guess a little bit from Pro as well. Like the differences between the journeys from Australian juniors to like American juniors into the elite sort of systems. Like your journey really, until you sort of hit that top age 18s, you weren't really in the ITC, all that sort of pathway. And then listening to the Jock Landale podcast the other day, which I absolutely loved as well, because I love the fact that Pro's meeting him for dinner at the buffets. That just made my heart sing. But
it was a true food, you dick.
Just the different pathways. Like, and I guess your pathway was a non-traditional Australian pathway. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not, versus all the kids in the ITC programs and things like that. Now, you look at some of the kids, the Aussie kids like Josh Green, they sort of went through more of an American, everyone's favorite Philadelphia 76 at Ben Simmons. They went through the non-traditional Aussie pathway into America. And what do you sort of think about that? And I'm so glad your Kings got a win last night as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was a big win. We needed it. Yeah, I think mine was non-traditional for sure. And I think probably going back to the last question we had is I think that's better. I think going the traditional route where you're the man,
in each phase of your career, you're generally not going to become a pro like that ever rarely. Like there's the godsends like LeBron James and 1 in a millions, but even Jordan had that pushback in his high school career, right? So I think I'd much rather take that guy that had to kind of bounce around and fight for his spot and had a bit of turmoil and dealt with adversity than someone who just went through the system. And, not taking anything away from system guys, but system guys generally are much more robotic too, because they're always in that same kind of ITC, BA system where I think you got to go. Like I played for a team, obviously you've listened to my journey, but with Sandringham, that was, the outcasts. Like we were a group of kind of labeled as delinquents that had a boombox in warm-ups on courts and shit. And people were like, we don't want these kids around our kids. They're kind of, they're the bad kids of the bunch. And that was great for me. I loved it. I embraced that shit and had fun with it. And we used to use it to our advantage in games. We weren't the most talented team, but we would fight if we had to. And I think I would, for my kids, I would love them to have that similar journey than just a regular, watered down regular journey of Basketball Australia. So I think it's a balance, and it just goes to show that I was probably one of the first guys to make it big time without going the normal route and doing all the political box ticks that you're supposed to do in junior sports to then teenage sports to then young man sports. I did none of it. I did all my way and ended up being the number one pick. So I think it just gave kids a vision into, hey, you can do it your own way if you put the work in. You don't need to be the best kid under 12s, under 14s. And it's probably the same in the US with AAU and high school. We see a lot of NBA players that come on the scene very late in their high school and very, early in college. And it's like, where do these kids come from? Well, they're always there, but some of them just weren't in those popular pathways with those big time AAU teams, right, bro?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the United States is there's just so many teams. There's so many teams. Like, there's probably, like, just to put it in perspective, like, I started in AAU coaching when I was 18 years old, and probably in the state of, I grew up in Boston, state of Massachusetts. It's not a very big state, and there was probably like 40 teams, maybe. Like 40 teams in each age group, maybe across the state. Right now, there's probably about close to 800, 900. Like just in Massachusetts, there are just teams everywhere and events everywhere. So like, there's the exposure these guys get. Now, as far as like social media, AAU, camp stuff, like just it's. Yeah, it's hard to come out of nowhere like they came 15 years ago, where a player could come out under the radar, no one really heard of them. Now, because of all the scouting services and all the social media that covers these kids since they're like 12 years old, they don't really sneak up on you. Maybe in Europe, there's really, or international, there's really not as many teams. You play on club teams and things, but there's like, I mean, I know they have different age groups and levels, but like in the United States, it's crazy as far as the amount of teams. Now, more kids, don't get me wrong, but they get put on a pedestal pretty quickly. It used to be sometimes you can go until like they're 17, 18 before you heard of a kid, before the internet and the social media really took over. Now you hear about these kids since they're 12, 13 years old. I mean, it's almost impossible. So it's a little bit different. I think the exposure that international kids get, as far as the grand scheme of things, isn't as much as, the United States, because of, again, you've got all these like circuits of events and all these tournaments and all these leagues that you don't really get in the international game. So, these kids are sort of out there so early in their career.
And I think it just goes to show that no one way is the right way. You can put the work in regardless of what system you're in. I've seen it on both sides. I've seen kids that aren't in the pathway don't make it, and that are in the pathway don't make it. It doesn't matter. You put the time and effort in, it'll work out. Thanks for that, Ash, and keep sharing our podcast. We appreciate it. We'll go to the next one, JF. A regular caller, welcome back. You might get our VIP medallion along with Chris, I reckon.
Excellent. Because quick question for Pro.
Oh, wow.
So who wrote it? It was Tim McMahon wrote a piece with Dennis Smith Jr. calling Rick Carlisle an asshole, pretty much. And then we had The Athletic with a piece about Luka, thinking Rick was an asshole, Haralabob, etc. So when are we going to get the, hoopsconsultant.substack.com, thoughts on why and how big of an asshole Rick Carlisle is?
Good luck, bro.
Well, good luck on that one. Look, I hate the guy. And the guy hates me.
It's a popular clickbait.
Yeah, and the guy hates me. And look, I'll go into pieces and parts. There are some things that you just don't want to get out there. It's just not worth the headache. But there are some things that I will share in the podcast in the coming months, as far as like some of the stories and some of the things that I had to deal with. Now, I won't put anybody out there. I'm not going to put Dennis Smith out there. I'm not going to put Salah out there. As far as like answering for those guys, because I don't do that. That's there's some things I share behind closed doors with the Mavericks, like draft stuff and some funny stories. But I think there is a certain line you don't want to cross. But the guy was all right with me until a certain point, and then he turned into a complete dick with me, and like sabotaging dick kind of shit, and bully shit with me. And because I can answer that because it happened to me. I'm not going to tell you what happened with other players and stuff. And I didn't know the reason. Like, I came because the player development was terrible. I'm not a savior. I'm not a fucking Superman, but I came because I was good at a certain thing. I'm not good at nutrition, obviously. I'm not good at X's and O's, but I can get players better. I'm not a magician on the court, but I have a certain way with players of how to communicate and how to hold them accountable and how to tell them the truth. And he didn't like that because I wouldn't rubber stamp and co-sign everything he would say. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's used to having on his staff. And I wouldn't do it. And then him and I had some words back and forth. And then there was an event, which I'm not going to share yet, that happened that totally changed my view of him. It's different between being like an 80s movie bully and someone who does something like that totally submarines you and for no fucking reason. And look, coaches are driven. Right? The head coaches, most of them are dicks. You celebrate them because no one really knows. When you're a fan, you just think, these guys are, wow, they're dedicated, they're great guys. And all this like office brutality, like, what do they call it? Unsafe work environment. You never hear about it with teams that win, but they do have them. They only get these guys getting fired when they don't win, or they get a player that, that's more powerful than they are. And that's what it is. And I don't mind getting yelled at. I don't mind somebody bullying me a little bit, as long as they don't fuck with you and fuck with you, and fuck with your livelihood. And that's what he did. And all I did was serve that place. And I did a good job. And I love the people, some of the people that I worked with. But he crossed the line with me. I'm not going to say what he did to other people. It's not my place. But with me, he crossed the fucking line. And ask Bogues, I can make fun of myself. People can make fun of me. I don't mind I'm not a pussy. I'm not gonna fucking turn somebody in for yelling at you. If you fuck up, you deserve to get yelled at. There are millions of dollars at stake. You're telling me that if you don't fuck up, you don't deserve to get yelled at? You got players' jobs at stake. You got coaches' jobs at stake. You got fucking GMs' jobs and livelihoods at stake. There's a lot of shit going on. And if you can't take it, don't be a pussy and turn somebody in. But when you cross a line, and he did that with me, when you cross a line, and then because I deserved to get fired. It was after my 4th year, and yet that event happened. And I said some vile shit about that motherfucker to the wrong people that it got back to him. And that's why I got fired. Because, again, I could take as much punishment as you want to give me. I'm good with that. As long as we're on the same playing field. Once you cross the line and you start doing some devious shit, then you're dead to me, and I don't give a fuck who knows it. And that's what happened. So, look, he's a good coach. He's driven to win. If I'm in an NBA team, to a certain extent, I would hire him because he's totally dedicated. He's not playing golf. He's not fucking chasing pussy at night. He's not doing any of that. He's studying the fucking game, and any edge he's going to get to win, he's going to do. But there's a certain way he operates that I'm not a fucking fan of. But that's just me.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Mike, and I look forward to kind of the tell-all down the line here.
Yeah, I'll get hit with a fucking drone way before that, so don't worry about it.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the question.
Well, quick note, Andrew, just a quick question on the COVID stuff. So it's a total situation right now in this NBA. Like, even where I am in Canada, where it's like 90% vaccinated, I went to pick up ball this week, and only 7 guys showed up. Because 2 of them had COVID and 2 others were exposed. Anyway, so it's looking pretty bad in North America. It's only going to get worse. Like, talking to the players that What's their feel on that? Like, do they want to go through the protocols? They want to get canceled?
That they don't want to go through the protocols, but I guess some players are more all in. You know, COVID can kill us at any minute of the day. Some players are in the middle. Some players are like, let's get on with life. I guess it's just a frustration of. I saw Joel Embiid's comment saying, you know, the protocol and day-to-day is Bush League this season compared to what it was a couple of seasons ago. So everyone takes it differently, and that's the thing with this. It's so personal. It's, you know, some players that I've spoken to that have kids are more worried to bring it home to their families. Some aren't. Some aren't buying all the hype. Some are like, hey, I've had my double vax and my booster. What the fuck? Let's get on with it. So it's different to every person you talk to, and that's what's unique about it. I really, and by talk to, I mean talk to away from the media and PR, because players really they're kind of towing the line on what they can say because they don't want to get casted as someone that's all in pro-vax or all in anti-vax. Straight away, as we know, you get labeled regardless of if you say something so watered down, like, hey, I believe in vaccinations, but I don't believe in the mandates. Anti-vax, you're crazy. You know what I mean? So I think the players are pretty well read on it. I think it's probably just fatigue, of the COVID fatigue of just like, you know, we're over this. We want to get back to our normal lives. We know NBA players are deviants at the best of times on the road. I anticipate that's a bit of a problem. Guys are getting out in the streets a little bit more than they did the last couple of seasons. Probably family members are out and about more. We're in Christmas, so I don't know. I've got it on the run sheet. I mean, I just saw the Magic versus the Nets game has 24 new players on it, I think. Is that right? I think 24 players on the new players on the roster or that have been brought in. You know, it's just crazy, and it's going to continue as soon as, you know, there's a few more spikes for a few more teams, and then you basically it's NBA Light / G League right now. So I don't know what the fix is. I saw Steve Kerr's comments too. He's talking about they went to Canada, and that's a whole set of other rules going into Toronto to play them. So I don't know what the immediate fix is, but it's not a great time. And that is a league that reportedly is 99% vaccinated, double vaccinated with boosters. So if that's happening there, I mean, the public that are watching this, the politicians and whatnot, will probably use that as like, well, if they're locking down and shutting down, why can't we? And I don't think we're behind lockdowns, to be honest with you, as far as maybe the US is in certain points, but I'm just waiting for it here in Australia. I'm just waiting for that press conference from some politician to say, we just need 2 weeks to stop the curve and everything will be okay. And then I'm doing this podcast in 2023, just getting out of lockdown. So who knows, man? It's a long-winded answer, but it's just a shit show over time. But yeah, thanks for that one. We'll go on to our next one. Cupcakes, what's up, man?
What's up, dudes? Always a wild Saturday night when I'm back in time to call in the Rogue Bogues.
Appreciate it.
No doubt.
Just real quick, Pro. I was driving across the country. I was on the outskirts of Dallas, and I got a flat tire on the side of the road. Who should pull up but Rick Carlisle?
No shit.
Wow.
Couldn't have been nicer. Help me. Gave me his spare.
Awesome.
Had nothing but positive things to say about you two. So I don't really understand all the negativity, to be honest.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just fucking around. I'm just fucking around.
Geez, because he would have ran you over, probably. Taking your car.
When you watch a game and the game ends and dudes put their hands over their mouths or a towel over their mouths and talk, like back in the day, it used to be, okay, it's LeBron doing that with Steph on ABC or whatever. But now it's like fucking Etuan Moore and Frank Kaminsky on a Monday night. Like, what are people talking about that they are so worried about the camera? Like, what's happening?
What you got, bro?
It depends on the player, really. It depends on the player. But usually they're talking shit or there's so many cameras in the arena. There's so many cameras that, like, they just don't want, you know, if they're swearing or if they're talking about something vile, or they might just be talking about normal stuff. But they just don't want anybody to read their lips because their camera's on them all the time. And it's just an old trick that veterans used to do.
It was more done with your own teammates, though, bro. Like, if you were talking to a teammate on the bench, it was like the whole thing of post-game is just so theatrical, pro, in my opinion. Like, look at us, we're talking. And then there's that whole, are they going to form a big three or a super team?
Oh, that thing?
Yeah, but it's like, dude, like the opposing players after the game. Number one, I'm not a fan of schmoozing the opposing team's players. Like, I'm just not a fan of it. We go to battle, we walk off the court, and then, hey, behind the scenes, like as you go onto the bus, you catch up with guys, got no problem with it. But those conversations they're having on court with their towels over their mouths and the media, right? And that's so LeBron orchestrated from back in the day, where it just gives him what's he talking about? Is he recruiting Anthony Davis? Ooh, they can have those exact same conversations behind the scenes with the cameras off him.
So to me, I always laughed at it because I'm like, you guys are going to see each other after the game. If you're boys from back home or if you're forming that super team, you probably had dinner the night before anyway. So to me, it's all theatrical, and it's like, yeah, man, no, you played great. And, it's just, yeah.
It's an odd energy because like you're enjoying a game, it's a good game, and then all of a sudden the buzzer sounds and you're like, am I in a 6th grade girl's bathroom with whisper time? Like what is this?
Oh yeah, my bad. I thought you meant during the game. I totally missed that. Like the after the game stuff. Yeah, I agree with Bogues. It's mostly for theatrics and it's cosmetic. It's I'm not a big fan.
I feel you. Just do I got time for I don't want to give
one more. Go for it.
I got okay. All right. So Bogues, you had your guy Jock on last week, and I don't lead with this on dating profiles or anything, but I was watching Jock Landale back when he was in Partizan. So I'm a fan. Like I was like, this dude could maybe be in the NBA. I like him. But you mentioned like when he was down in the G League, you said something along the lines of, oh, I hope you're not down there too long, or I hope and pro, I mean, God bless you. But the G League has been the G League for like 7 years now. You're still calling it the D League. So yeah. I think like I sense like a little bit of maybe dismissiveness of that league. But at the same time, Bogues, your coach, a lot of the best players in Australia, like the league is pretty fucking good and it's getting better.
It is. I wasn't being dismissive. I think it was more, I think he's an NBA rotation player. I really do. On that squad especially. I think it was more from that point of view than shitting on the G League. I think it definitely provides a service for guys like Jock when needed. And he's 26. He's come off a great season in the NBL. I'm not saying that translates in the NBA, but there's no excuse why he's not getting 5 to 10 minutes on that squad. Like he runs the floor like a banshee, and that alone should get him a couple of minutes a night. Like if you got Pirtle beating the shit out of their big, and then you put Jock in for the last 2 minutes, and this dude's running up and down 100 miles an hour. He runs the floor as one of the best big men rim to rim. I think it's a useful player to have on the roster, but I think Pop's just such a stubborn old school coach where young rookie, he needs to earn his stripes before he gets in. That was more my point. So I think he's ready to play in the NBA. I'm not saying 20, 30 minutes. I think he can definitely come in and provide some spot minutes for him, especially when Pirtle went down. That was ridiculous that he didn't get an opportunity. So it was more from that point of view. It wasn't so much that, I hope you're not down there too long. And look, from his mental, probably what he was thinking was, I've played in Partizan, I've played for some of the best teams in the world, I had a great Olympics. Like, I've come here to play in the NBA, not the G League. And I don't, that would be it. If he was a 19-year-old rookie, they just got drafted in the second round, they brought him in, they sent him to G League for a year, that's a whole different story. But they've brought him in as a 26-year-old knowing that this isn't a guy we're trying to develop. Like he's probably 5 or 6 years away from him going downhill with age and whatever, right? So that's why it doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Well, and I feel that, and like I want to see him do well. But the name that you're not mentioning is the dude in front of him on the depth chart is Drew Eubanks, who, I mean, he's been a G League guy for years. Was on a 2-way deal, I think, a couple years in a row. And like, I watch him, man, and he's kind of like, one of your old teammates, Dan Gadzarich. He's like Dan Gadzarich with a little edge, with a little more basketball IQ. I think he moves his feet well. He guards the rim. He's a little feisty. Like that's the dude that he has to beat out. And like, frankly, he's better than him right now.
But I mean, I still think there's spot.
And he's younger.
There. Like, I think you can have smaller lineups. We all know the league likes to go small. Jock can definitely sneak into a couple of minutes at the 5 if need be with the way small lineups go. So I think there's minutes there. Like I said, I don't think it's a huge amount of minutes, but I think he deserves to be in the rotation at a 9, 10, 11, 12 aspect. He definitely doesn't deserve to be 15, 16, 17 right now, which is what he is up and down the G League like a yo-yo. So it's probably more from that point of view, I think.
I feel you.
Appreciate it, man. We'll go on to our last question, which is from Dan.
Yeah, g'day, guys. Just want to wish you a happy Christmas for the upcoming Christmas season. My little under-12s did well yesterday, thanks to your help again. Now, a couple of questions. What do you see as the MVP candidates for this season and so far, and playoff potential for the finals, given the data we've seen so far this season?
Who do you think is going to finish in the finals, you mean?
Yeah.
Good luck with that one.
Well, for me, I picked Kevin Durant as my MVP preseason. I think Steph's up there. Giannis is kind of in the mix. The one name
who is being blatantly disrespected, and I saw Zach Lowe get fired up about it. Nikola Jokic is, it's almost like he's fallen off the edge of the earth, bro. Like they're just talking about a race for Steph versus LeBron, and we know ESPN is LeBron light. Anything LeBron's people want promoted, ESPN does and gets on their knees for. But I think Jokic is probably, when you look at the numbers of what he's doing right now, his numbers are mind-boggling. He's plus 14 on the floor, and they're like minus 16 with him on the floor or whatever it is, off the floor, sorry. And he's shooting at almost 60% from the field. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's something like 27, 8, and 7 a night. Like his numbers are mind-boggling, and he's not even in the conversation. So I don't know if it's the Denver fatigue, small market. He won it last year. We can't have another slow, unathletic dude win it. I don't know what it is, but it's like Zach Lowe, I 100% agree with. It's blatantly disrespectful that he's not in the conversation. So I'd probably have those. I'd probably rule Giannis out in a distant fourth. It's a mix of Jokic, KD, and Steph, in my opinion. And look, I could not pick finals right now. This COVID thing, like I just said, the Nets have 80% of their rosters sidelined right now in the game today. I have no idea. It's going to come down to health and protocol. Look, you could get into a final series in a 1 versus 8, and the 1 seed loses 5 of its starters and 3 of its important role players, and then has to play an 8 seed, and they get thumped in 3 games and then can't recover. You just don't know what can happen, and that's why I think COVID's just thrown a spanner in the works, even more so than the bubble. I'd probably argue, Pro, because they just can't stop this flow now of protocol, and it's tough. What do you got, Pro?
I totally agree with you as far as picking the champion. I think it's almost impossible at this point, just because of you just don't know. You don't know. If they're going to continue the season, guys going out for 10 days that are whack, and then 2 or 3 guys getting whacked, every couple of days for each team. It just seems like it's overwhelming, and it's really hard to really, depend on all your players and your rotations and people getting comfortable and a groove, So yeah, I think it's very tough. As far as MVP, I had Luka in the beginning of the year. I think.
No way.
I don't know. I don't think he'll get it. I hope he does, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he'll get it. Obviously. Yeah. So he's out for a while, but then again, the season's still early. If God forbid there's a pause and he can get back his footing, but I think it's Durant and Steph. Jokic's numbers like 26, 14, and something like 8, shooting 59 from the field. I do agree that he should definitely be more into it. His team's sort of flatlining, though, with injuries and things, although winning doesn't, I guess it's not the most important thing with the MVP race, but
how much games does that roster win as it is, Pro, right now in Denver? With Porter out, they've got 2 max guys out, right? Take Jokic away from that roster, how many games do they win right now?
Not many.
No, I would say probably if start of the season, they probably win as many as they have right now throughout the whole year. They probably get 15 to 20 the whole year tops.
So he's single-handedly keeping them. They're in the race for the playoffs single-handedly, really. Like you look at some of these matchups, they're 15 and 14 right now. They're 6 and 4 in their last 10. They're in the 7th seed, and they're only a couple of games out of potentially 5th. I mean, I think he's right up there in my opinion. I just can't understand the disrespect that we've completely. Some people don't have him in their top 5. Like it's outrageous.
I think you're right though, Bogues, with small market syndrome, and he's not the big name, classy, flashy player. That's exactly what I think. You're dead on.
Yeah, I mean, he plays like Arvydas Sabonis, did in the '80s, and not a lot of people got to see him play. And if you watch film on him, he's ridiculous and just not a sexy way to play. Bill Walton was the same way. He just wasn't a sexy player. He was hurt most of his career, correct, but like. Jokic just gets things done. If you're a basketball purist, you love watching him play.
No doubt.
But everybody loves the flashy play. He's
KD,
just not that.
You can't take away what KD and Steph are doing. Steph, the whole fairy tale of breaking the 3-point record is going to, I think, give him more probably votes. And KD's having a hell of a year as well. So you can't take those 2 away. But I just think Jokic should be in the conversation. Whether it's one of those 3 that you pick, you can't argue. If one of those 3 gets it, it's hard to argue against. But I think those 3 are the ones that are in the conversation for me, and I anticipate them being in the top 3. But thanks for that one, Dan. We'll wrap up episode 47 Q&A. Thanks everyone for joining us. So join us next week. Share this around. Catch you next time.
Thanks, fellas.